And I actually have two monitors now, so I don't know why I keep going to my phone to check to see if I'm streaming. I think it's just a habit now, and I think I just like to see it on my phone, and then I'm totally fine. Put it there. You go, and we're good to go. So hello everybody, and welcome to Nothing with Chloe in the afternoon. It's a Sunday. Usually I do not stream on Sundays. Sundays are definitely my day off, typically. Um, but I just feel as though I should continue with this article. When I started it, I did a very bad introduction of it actually, so I should probably do a quick intro again of like what it comes from, why I'm reading it, just very quickly. So I'm Chloe. I generally lead the Marmaday Research DAO, and for the Marmaday Research DAO, my main way I support is I try my best to contribute as much as possible to uncloak.org. And so Uncloak is a community maintained knowledge wiki experiment aiming to increase the accessibility of cryptography for developers, researchers, and everyone else. So, in this support of uncloak.org, I try to specifically help support the crypto engineering in Rust study group, which is running for 16 weeks. We are currently in week, I suppose, 3 at the moment, and so currently we have. I mean, I'm going through. Let's look at course 2 notes, talking about block ciphers, for example, and you can see the exercises. There's the where is it? Uh, I guess it. I thought we linked it here as well. The text, but the text is in the syllabus, anyways. But the homework here is from the textbook, chapter 3. The questions are here, and there's the solutions here as well, chapter 2. But in the notes for the extra reading, that's where we're at now. This first link here, copy A, is this an extra reading about DES. So, um, generally, when I start reading papers, I don't really like reading a long abstract about it. I kind of like jumping in and getting into the mess of it. Probably isn't the best for streaming them. But, anyways, it is about how IBM published what would become the data encryption standard in 1975, which would become standardized 3 years later in 1978. IBM originally targeted 64 bits of security, but the NSA offered to disclose vulnerabilities in the algorithm to IBM in exchange for a lower bit security, 48 bits, so that the NSA would have an easier time breaking encryption by brute force. Take with that what you will. IBM and the NSA agreed on a midway, 56-bit security. So the higher bit security, it's harder for NSA to break the encryption on, and the NSA would still. Oh, there's some cute dogs outside. But the NSA would still disclose the vulnerabilities in the submission that was there. And the NSA patched the vulnerabilities in the DES algorithm. The precise contributions of the NSA were kept private, in part to maintain the secrecy of differential cryptanalysis techniques. So they didn't want to publish how they even broke things. So they didn't want to publish, which I think one of the coolest things now that I enjoy about open systems is that attacks are open as well. However, the existence of the collaboration was publicly known and heavily scrutinized by cryptographers, including Whitfield Diffie and Martin Hellman, who argued for the necessity of a 128-bit key, which is way more secure. So this is what the paper's about. Very interesting paper so far. I've already gone through the first few pages. I did not go through much. I tried taking some notes. I did not take many notes. I'm still working on the most efficient way of taking notes. First, I was kind of probably going a bit too slow for a long time, I think, in my note taking. Now, potentially, I'm going a bit too fast, but there's a lot to learn, and so I think most important these days is just getting through the content. I need new light bulbs, and all these light bulbs are all really yellow dark lights. I don't know why my grandma liked it like that. Anyways, I did get through objections of the basic argument a bit. So like basically objections to what Diffie and Hellman, or I think those even, yeah, those dudes, people, were saying. I kind of read through all the objections on this page first, and then started being like, "Oh, this is really good. I kind of want to take these down." I kind of started going through, just simply taking down the objection, and then like why the objection isn't that relevant. So I kind of got down to here in the last video, going to like speed and cost. So for example, the objection was that it's not possible to build an LSI chip to test a key in one micro. I'm not gonna, yeah. The Google auto transcribe used to, let's do, is this the right browser? Lord help me. Let's see if this works, just for fun. Is it simple enough just to do it like this? No, where's the chat bot? Yeah. Try it. I mean, Google would obviously tell me it way faster than this, but I want to kind of start checking across Google. I think I logged in here. I would have. This is the one I use for just testing things out. Yeah. Okay, no, just keep going. Chat. What does... Oh gosh. Why are you being so difficult? What does... Oh no. Is it just not... Ugh. So then I have the... I know it's... Okay, I can just... I mean, this is what I actually do. So, latex draw. And then I know I could just draw... okay, no, I can't draw. So, let's... And then it should just tell... What? Okay, I'm just a terrible drawer. Okay. Oh my god, why am I such a terrible drawer? Show me more. Am I just a really bad drawer? Okay, this is kind of embarrassing to stream now. Because, like, Wow! My drawing is terrible. Okay, wait. It's like nano or microseconds. But, like... Okay, let's see. I think it would just translate it as P in the... No, I did this thing again. Okay, I'm just having a terrible time with all of this right now. Let's see. And this is just a total tangent right now as well. Just because I'm trying to figure out, like, later on... No. And then on Google, I would just do this, but yeah. So, symbol for microsecond. Okay, it is just micro. Okay, so it's what I first thought it was, and I mean, none of these, like, that's kind of frustrating. Google, just asking the question for what I think it is into Google and checking is still the fastest way of doing things. Like, I want to be able to just, I mean, I guess on my phone, I would just Google Lens it. And so I like reading papers on my phone sometimes. And also on my phone, the auto-transcribe would translate this to the actual symbol. So Google has some really cool, like, tech for just reading papers. Anyways, part of the reason why I use, I guess, yeah, this is kind of going into a little bit why I use the transcribe features in general, but usually I use them on Google because they're much more efficient. At times. These days, I don't know. I'll have to try it on the new phone. But wow, in 1 nano, I just said micro, right? Yeah, not nano, micro. That was the whole point. Microsecond for $10, rather 40 microseconds and $100 I needed. Because when I say it just says p second, and like that's just frustrating for me to not actually know what I'm talking about. Another section discusses the chip design and speed that shows 1 microsecond is a reasonable estimate, time required, and they just kind of like go into like digging into why like it's actually not the case that it would be this expensive. I actually don't think it's like, I don't know. I don't think it's as important to note every single detail. I actually think for me these days, I mean, not these days, it's been like a few days since I read the paper. More important just to take like what types of things to look for in a system. Like in my mind, what I'm thinking about is what types of things like are the arguments generally when like speeding cost, the physical size that it would require to build this computer. Like that's the type of things they were talking about at this time period. And are some of these things still relevant, or some of them not relevant? So I like honestly just starting to. I might go back, and okay, maybe I'll allow it to stay like that. Like yeah, they were just literally saying like this is the most important part to me. Like this is their objection. Power requirements, like oh my gosh, like running this supercomputer would take too much power, and then like like this is not going to be that important because it was like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, whatever. But what is important is like these days, if you can only do it with quantum computers because, okay, well, if that's the case, well, what are those things that can be attacked by that system in that way? But anyways, I'm not going to be reading this all out. That's the whole point. Oh no, it's one of those ones where it's not going to... There we go. Yeah, not going to read it out. I'm going to let... Oh, there it is. Can only go to here. No. Anyways, it'll be fine. The point is, so the last one was power requirements. A million chip device operating at high speed will consume too much power. Unless special precautions are taken, LSI ICs are limited to about 1 watt of power dissipation because there is a linear trade-off in speed and power. The question becomes whether 1 watt is sufficient power to allow a 1 microsecond search time per key, as will be shown in a later section. So a lot of this is like later sections too, which is why I think taking notes in each spot wasn't very relevant. The high-speed portion of the chip includes about 300 gates to obtain a 1 microsecond search time. These must operate with approximately a 4 nanosecond gate delay. Yeah, obviously. Anyways, the equivalent number of... Okay, and then for some reason I clicked the screen again, but it's okay. We'll get through this. I'm just not used to using this tool specifically. And then it's going to read it out. I have not checked actually how it's going, so Ernest, if the audio is not coming through that clear throughout most of this, please let me know. But the idea is I'm not reading the paper. The paper should be reading itself. This intro was 13 minutes long. That's insane. But I did want to do a proper intro of what's going on and what I'm doing, and hopefully get at least a good hour in of reading. Hopefully finish the paper, but we'll see.
Gate operations per second is 3000. 4x 109 equals 8x 1011, which requires a speed power product of at most 1.2 picojoule per gate operation for the power per chip to be less than 1 watt. Speed power products of 0.2 pj are obtainable with CMOS complementary metal oxide semiconductor silicon on sapphire technology. 516, the less expensive channel C gate depletion low technology, is also a contender. In 1974 it had a speed power product of 38 pj. 15, while the Intel 2125/15 memory introduced in 1976 had an 8 pj speed power product, and memories introduced in 1977 are expected to reach 2 pj. Further, these are static power figures. The search chip's dynamic speed power product would be lower. Both CMOS SOS and N-channel ICs meet the other requirements of high speed and density, using a 1 watt chip figure and allowing a factor of 2 for power supply losses, cooling, control logic, etc. We find that 2 megawatts of AC power are required by the machine. At 3 cents per kWh, this costs $1,500 per day, which is low compared to the $10,000 per day amortization cost. Use of a low power technology, CMOS SOS, would reduce these figures by a factor of 5. Cost of larger key objection. Increasing the key size from 56 to 128 or 256 bits would greatly increase the cost of the device. We will see in a later section that the encryption chip's area requirements are dominated by elements whose number is independent. QF the key size. Key-related registers, etc. make up less than 10% of the chip's device count. Going to a 128-bit key would therefore increase chip size by at most 20%. Since packaging would be unchanged, the increase in the chip's cost would be minimal. A 256-bit key may involve a more significant cost at this point in time. A larger key is also well within the storage limitations of a magnetic car 4, on which it is envisioned most keys will be stored. If, however, the user must memorize and type in his key, there is a human factors cost to be considered. While techniques for remembering long keys can be developed, if the 128 or 256-bit key is adopted in the standard, there will undoubtedly be some applications where shorter keys will suffice and be desired. We therefore suggest that a variable key size be part of the standard. This is best done by designing the algorithm to use a key as long as the largest key needed, and building in a key expansion algorithm to make shorter keys compatible with the basic algorithm. The currently proposed standard, in fact, already has a key expansion algorithm because it needs 48 keying bits in each of 16 iterations of a basic enciphering operation. These 16x48 equals 768 keying bits are obtained by repeating the 56 key bits about 14 times each. Another section describes two variable key size techniques. In summary, the increased cost of using a larger key is negligible, and changing over to a larger key need not greatly delay introduction of the standard since most of the algorithm is still usable. Only the key expansion operation needs to be modified.
Okay. Wow. So I like this paper because, like, they're not only, like, refuting something, then they go try and prove their point saying, but make it bigger. And they're saying, okay, fine, like 256 might be too big. Like, for now. At this point in time. So 256-bit key may be too much at this point in time. But I mean, come on. You might as well go to 128 because not only are you wrong, you're so wrong that you could increase the keys. Like, yeah, it's just, yeah. It's I get why people use words like cute and cheeky when talking about like cryptographers, because these are the types of papers that are like passed around. And I have not read nearly enough of like the historical cryptography stuff by any means. I've read like a short like 20 or 30 papers on like MPC and like privacy and in cryptography and stuff like that. But like I honestly I feel like all I want to do for like at least a year or two is just read all these papers and try to understand the math. And I think that's actually what the AI would be good for. Anyways, objection. Cryptanalysis by exhaustive search can be nullified by frequently changing keys. Okay, so that's what they're saying is like what they can do. I'm just gonna read this part because I mean I'm not gonna like I don't even honestly I don't know why this is here. Maybe it's just like literally up. Yeah, I think this is just like an ad in the newspaper it was photocopied from. So I think we can just go down to the bottom. Sorry. So I'll just read this part. In the limit, if the key is changed with each block, the system is essentially a one-time pad which is known to be secure against any cryptanalytic attack. However, the key distribution problem is horrendous and prevents, and then I'm definitely not going to read any more of that, and I think we are back to normal, yeah. And I think one page at a time is actually not bad for me. I can kind of like pay attention enough. This voice I don't like very much, to be honest. There's a better voice that I like better, and the Google voice, and it just hasn't been working. So I'm actually going to try one more time to switch to the Google. Samantha has been all right. The Google voice enunciates much better. It just hasn't been working. But we're going to try it. Google, I think it was, I guess this one, UK English female.
Read Aloud is a Chrome and Firefox extension that uses text-to-speech technology to convert web page text to audio.
I think that's the right one. I think it's working.
It works on a variety of websites, including news sites, blogs,
Because yeah, that's when you...
Read Aloud is a Chrome and Firefox... Read Aloud is a Chrome and Firefox extension that uses text-to-speach technology to convert web page text to audio.
I think this should work.
It works on a variety of websites, including news sites, blogs, fanfiction, publications, textbooks, school and course materials. Use of the one-time pad system in all but very special applications, such as the Washington-Moscow hotline. Rather, NBS must be thinking that if the key is changed every hour, cryptanalysis will buy less information than it would if the key were changed daily. Further, if the information obtained is of short time value, e.g., 1 hour or 1 day search time would yield only stale data. But a national standard must be usable in diverse applications, most of which do not allow frequent key changes. Further, 1 hour or even 1 minute's information can be worth $5,000 in applications such as finance. Even if an exhaustive search takes longer than the time between key changes, partial searching can still be a threat. If keys are changed hourly and learning the key in use is only of value during that time, a machine which takes 1 day to do an exhaustive search has 1 chance in 24 of discovering the key during its useful period. On the average, 1 such key will be found per day. The cost per solution is thus $10,000, only double the usual cost. It is primarily the useful time duration of the solution which differs. Uniqueness of solution objection. There is no guarantee that a single plain text ciphertext pair will uniquely determine the key. This is a difficult objection to treat rigorously since proving the uniqueness of the solution key is probably more difficult than cryptanalysis. Even so, informal reasoning convincingly removes this objection. First, note that the 64 plaintext ciphertext bits give us 64 nonlinear equations and 56 unknowns for key bits. The form of the equations, i.e., the design of the algorithm, would have to be carefully chosen if there are to be multiple solutions. For example, if the equations were linear with randomly chosen coefficients, then the probability of there being multiple solutions would be less than 1 in 100. This is derived by noting 20 that if k binary n vectors span an m-dimensional space and ak plus first vector is chosen uniformly at random, then the probability that it is independent of the first k vectors is 2n 2 meters 2n for m less than n. If there were multiple solutions, there would probably be only 2. Further, even if there were as many as 1 million solutions, use of additional plaintext ciphertext equivalents would allow rapid determination of the one correct solution. And even with 1 million solutions, the amount of I/O is minimal since each chip would find 1 solution per day on the average. Our conclusion is that none of these objections are really valid, and that the 56-bit key is too small for a national standard crypto system. The next 2 sections provide justification for a number of the statements made in this section. System architecture. To avoid MTBF problems and to minimize design and control costs, the machine has 64 search racks, operating almost autonomously, all under the control of a mini-computer. There are 3 or 4 spare racks to provide backup for failed units which are being repaired. Each rack contains 128 printed circuit cards with 128 search chips on each. The total number of active search chips is thus 64 by 128 by 128 equals 220 equals 1048, 576 or slightly more than the 1 million used for the basic argument. Each rack has 1 or 2 additional cards for interfacing and controlling the 128 search cards. Each search card has several IC packages for interfacing and controlling its 78,128 search chips. Each of the 3 levels of control uses a common I/O bus for all units under its command, and has an XY type polling structure. For example, the 128 search chips on a card are arranged in a rectangular array of 8 by 16 chips. Each chip has a pair of pins for sensing when it is being addressed, and the controller addresses the fork JTH chip by driving the ITH of 8 horizontal wires and the JTH of 16 vertical wires. To initialize the search, the mini-computer addresses each of the 64 racks in turn and transmits a reset command followed by 184 bits, 64 bits of known plaintext, 64 bits of corresponding ciphertext, and 56 bits to specify the starting point for the rack search of the key space. Once the control unit within the rack has this information, it addresses each of its 128 search boards in turn. Each board's control unit is RJ set and given the same 184 bits as received by the rack's control unit except the starting key is incremented by 243 for each new board since each board searches 164, 128 equals 2 to 13 of the key space which is 243 keys. The board's control unit then addresses each of its 128 search chips in a similar manner except the starting key is incremented by 236 for each new chip. This technique eliminates what could be a horrendous fan-out problem. Once in the search mode, polling is done in a similar manner to avoid fan-in problems. Each board's control unit polls its 128 search chips on a regular basis. Any solutions within a board are relayed to the rack controller when it polls that board. And finally, any solutions within a rack are relayed to the mini-computer when it polls the rack. Automatic fault diagnosis is built in by having the board controller check any solutions offered it. This is done by having an extra search chip on each board. The known ciphertext and the supposed solution key are entered, and the computed plaintext is compared with the known plaintext. Any disagreement indicates a chip failure and causes the replacement of the entire rack by a spare tilde while the defective board is replaced. For reasons to be developed shortly, the replacement rack can take up the defective rack search almost at the point where the failure occurred. Similar checks on solutions are built in at the rack controller and mini-computer level to guard against failures in the lower level controllers. These checks will automatically diagnose and correct a fault which causes a false alarm, but there is a need to detect and diagnose a fault which would cause a valid solution to be lost. This is accomplished by having each rack go into a check mode every 30 minutes. In this mode, each chip within the rack is given the same plaintext ciphertext pair and the same starting point for its search. This data is not related to the actual search but, rather, is chosen so that the solution will be found after trying about 10 keys. Each chip should produce the same solution when polled. By doing this about 10 times with different data, essentially every gate in each chip will be exercised and tested. Using a 200 kbps I/O bus, it will take the rack about 0.5 milliseconds per chip to test, 8 seconds per test. There are 16,000 search chips in a rack and 1.5 minutes for 10 tests. Because this is done every 30 minutes, only a 5% speed penalty is incurred. At even a 1% per 1,000 hours chip failure rate, the probability of a rack experiencing a failed chip in a 30-minute period is only 0.08. Before entering the check mode, the rack notes the number of keys searched by its slowest chip, and if no failures are found, takes up the search at that depth when the check is completed. The rack is able to keep track of this slowest chip because of the polling method employed. When a chip is polled by its board control.
Okay. This is okay. This is why I like reading papers, and I feel like I'm just so behind because this is like from 1970, right? But like, I know there's obviously better papers and more efficient ways to do like the exact same thing now and everything. But it's always fun. Like, they're trying to prove their point, and they're just like, oh, this is how we're gonna build it. And like, obviously, you're kind of just taking them at their word because it's a paper, and you'd have to actually then actually try and build this thing, and that sounds like a whole different beast. Like, this is why I kind of, for now, like just cryptography because it's like it's hard, but it's like the math theoretical like research side a lot of times I guess, or some, and these days I guess more coding side. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's funny, and I think my biggest issue right now is that this voice again, even though it's the Google UK whatever, still doesn't read out at least the exponents well. I thought it would at least read like, but I guess it's in like an older paper. It's like a photocopy of a paper too, but still, it says 236, and then it's kind of like messing my brain a bit. But anyways, oh, pretty cool. I honestly feel like this was still the most important information from here. Just the fact that like they're having multiple racks and they're having a way to poll. I guess I didn't really talk much about polling. I don't think. Maybe I'll just like literally take like, I don't know. I feel like I should take some note about it. That was a really interesting part. How like they're gonna pull things. These checks. Okay. Extra chip. We can just like take that down, I guess. And then these checks automatically diagnose and correct the cause. Okay. Oh gosh. Sure. Just you go on a check one every 30 minutes. Honestly, I'm just trying to get like notes for now. This node, including taxes. That's pretty cool, like how they pulled, but that's not really the point. Let's just do that. I really like the word "polled" and like how they were like polling these like chips to see which one's the slowest chip. So you always knew which chip is the slowest, and so you could always know when to like replace a rack. The genius. I don't know. Like I'm just. I could. My brain would never just. I mean, okay, maybe eventually it would. I feel as though it would be difficult to just come up with. Okay, so table 1, characteristics of major mini processor technologies. So these are ones. So yeah, a while ago. Like the numbers now must be insane. Like that's what I'm trying to say. Like, yeah, like reading papers from 40 years ago and then reading a paper from today. The numbers are wild. Gate propagation. And speed, power. So I mean, I don't know none of these things, but it's cool to. I mean, I think for me, just like seeing the numbers and trying to remember, like, okay, in this period of time, when I read a paper from like 1990 something or early 2000s, you know, what will the gate, you know. Can I remember some of these units and some of these numbers? And this I don't remember at all, but might remember gate density. But like, the units is the hardest part, which is probably the most important part. Like in this period of time, what units we were using to measure. But yeah, that's memorizing things is not that great in my brain these days.
Unit. It outputs one bit to indicate if it has found a solution, followed by the last key tried. If the first bit indicates that a solution has been found, the solution is the last key tried. Because it is the low-order 36 bits which are searched by a chip, the board controller compares the low-order 36 bits of the last key tried with the minimum value found thus far in its current polling of the 128 search chips. At the end of the polling cycle, the minimum value found is relayed to the rack which keeps track of the minimum value among all its boards. This value is used for reinitializing the search after a check mode test or after a failure is detected. Since the only differences in chip search rate are due to a chip finding a solution, little is lost by using this conservative measure of search depth. Each rack and board has 3 modes of operation: reset, search, and check, while each chip has only 2 modes: reset and search. The chip search mode is used by the board in its check mode. Keeping the lowest control level simple makes economic sense because there are over 1 million chips. It is now seen that only 7 active pins are needed: ground, power plus 5V, I/O, control, reset versus search mode, X and Y sensing for polling, and a clock pin. The board layout is simplified because all of these pins, except the X and Y sensing pins, are connected to common buses on each board, and even the X and Y sensing pins have a simple, repetitive connection schedule. This description of the system architecture should also make it clear that the high degree of parallelism and the large number of components present little trouble. Indeed, the 64 racks could operate totally independently with manual setup and readout. Chip design: the power, gate density, and speed requirements point to CMOS, SOS, or N-channel depletion load as the technology to be used, although F2L integrated injection logic cannot be ruled out at this point. The need for low-speed power products, approximately 1 PJ per gate operation, has already been established above. A high-density technology is also needed since the chip has about 6,400 devices, comparable to Xerox Z80 microprocessor. A density of at least 100 gates per square millimeter is needed. Also, a gate delay of about 4 nanoseconds is needed to achieve a search time of 1 second per key. Table 1, taken primarily from Fathom 15, shows CMOS SOS to be the most attractive technology for all of these requirements, but indicates that the initial production date is uncertain. In private conversations with several IC experts, we were told that CMOS SOS is available today for the type of application envisioned in this paper. In these conversations, CMOS SOS speed power products of 0.1 to 1 PJ and gate delays of 1 to 5 nanoseconds were.
I think this is like, what the F is this? But this is where actually, okay, you know what? This might be fun. Can you explain more about right? And so that's kind of why I'm taking the notes now and see if, and then seeing does this actually like devices control the full fields. Like this is like, oh yeah, silicon on sapphire. Oh, they were talking about that earlier. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, like cool. Like, and so like having those types of notes, checking it to make sure it actually makes sense. See, like, I didn't read through the whole thing. Seems to be relatively reasonable so far. And so yeah, like to me that's kind of the point of taking the note for now, and then being able to use it into a prompt, and then I don't like not actually, like that frustrates me so much. My notes definitely. I'm not that picky when it comes to notes, but I do like bullets. The need for low speed power products has already been established. The high density technology is also needed. They're just comparing it to something else, like that you might have thought about that wouldn't have worked, obviously. They're like explaining that already. A density of this is needed. So like at this point in time, you know, so then I can just ask the chatbot, you know, the current processors used in typical phones or microwaves or whatever, how many gates per, oh god, millimeter squared, I guess, is used. And then like we can check like, okay, oh, for the past 40 years we were able to do this much better. Yeah. And then just put that there. I'll go try and fix this later. These notes. Good enough. Good enough. Table 1. Yeah. They're just showing like things. I'll just read this one because it's a huge diagram. Oh my gosh. Biggin. I'm not gonna make this smaller for sure. Oh gosh, it's still not gonna fit. Oh lord. Is it 2 different ones? Okay. I think it's 2 different ones. It better be 2 different ones. Yeah, flow charts. I was like, gosh, if that was one big one, that's crazy. Okay, so these conversations, like this sapphire speed power products of 0.1 to 1 petajoules and gate delays. Now I'm gonna have to energy unit. Yeah, pentajoule. I don't want to I don't want to say it and then be wrong and then like sit there saying the wrong thing. Like, I haven't used some of these symbols since like, oh god, I don't want to date myself. I'm old. I haven't done physics in a long time. And with computer science, I just never really got much into like engineering. I always stayed in like research and math. I'm terrible at math. Not okay. You shouldn't say that about myself. You know, I just haven't done enough math in my life yet. Put it that way. Yet. Aside from being well within the order of magnitude estimate is needed, the speed power product for a static device is higher than for devices which are constantly processing. Huh. Okay. The exact savings depend on particulars of chip layout, but savings as much as 90% might be possible. Huh. That just seems interesting. I feel like I have to again, these are all prompts for the chatbot to me in this point in time. Just asking the chatbot, why is this the case? Why is that the case? And like for older papers, I think it's just fun because like they're it's simple to understand, in my opinion, what's going on in like older algorithms, older papers, because there's so much information out there about it. Whereas newer cutting edge stuff, the chatbot doesn't know what's going on. It might have the wrong information. But like with older stuff, it probably has the correct information, so I don't have to worry as much. The low cost and large production experience of N-channel make it an attractive choice. So I can look at what is N-channel and who built it, and like there's going to be so much information about like, okay, you know what? For example, I mean, I just find this fun, so we're just going to have to do it because I enjoy it. What is N-channel? There you go. Okay. So instead of using Sapphire, they use this thing. What? Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna. I lose track of what I'm doing too much. But anyways, I'm not really an expert in like the engineering or physics side of things, and so getting extra information quick. And Google is pretty good too. Like just for a quick, what is N-channel? Maybe this is just a bit too much then, but Google's doing a pretty good job of giving you this. And then we can check like which was better. Which one's more correct? That's more important though, right? Which one's more correct? I'm gonna go back to taking notes. We're almost done with the paper, so it's all good. To understand the density and speed requirements, one must explore the NBS encryption algorithm in greater detail. Figure 1A is a flowchart representation of the algorithm in enciphering mode. The deciphering mode is of the same structure. The 64-bit plaintext block undergoes an initial permutation of its bits and then goes through 16 iterations of a key-dependent transformation to produce. So you have 64-bit plaintext, is a permutation. You get your left 32 bits, your right 32 bits, so, obviously not just cut in half exactly. There's some permutation there. You take your right side, you take it with the round 1 key, you put them into a function together, and you XOR it. You take the output of this function, the round function, and you XOR it with the left side, and then that becomes R1, and then the output of L1 with the key. No. I don't know. I think R0 becomes a 1 on its own, maybe? See, this is where like I just have to like ask, like, one Thor and I gotta sit and I'm like, Thor, is it exactly this? And maybe I can just sit with a chatbot one day and spend an hour. And this is probably on Google, and like, I just haven't spent enough time with DES specifically. But yeah, you mix some things in this way. Believe me, don't ask me for the specifics. I feel like unless I actually coded this, I would not understand it enough to do that. But anyways, a 64-bit pre-output block. This pre-output block undergoes a final permutation to produce a, that looks terrible, 64-bit ciphertext block. The initial and final permutations should be eliminated from the standards since they possess no cryptographic value and take about 20% of the enciphering time. The final permutation. So like apparently they just, because you've already done all this work, why have this permutation? And the initials is no use, not useful anyway. I guess they're saying again, there's no key used in this, so the permutation is not really useful cryptographically, but it still requires some work to do. So take this out, take that out, only keep the cryptography, and you'd save, you wouldn't have to use 20%. However, for now, we must include them, I guess, just because it's part of the standard. The basic loop, which is iterated 16 times, is of the form take the L and take the R of that round minus 1, and then R ends up equaling the L of the round previously, XORed with, okay, the math actually makes it simpler too, XORed with that function, or the function of the round of the previous with the current key. So I feel like I need to get better at mixing the math and the code, because, yeah, seeing it in code to me is completely different than seeing it in math, and that's not good. Yeah, these are the rounds. So if that wasn't clear, I guess for the first round it doesn't matter. You're around round 0 or whatever. First round 0 doesn't really matter. You just use the two plain text and you XOR and use them. But yeah, where K is a set of 48-bit keys selected from the key according to the keys. Are we just going through like what DES is now, I guess? Okay, let's just, oh no! It's not gonna, nope, it's not gonna have to read this one. Selected from the key according to the key scheduling algorithm. Li and Ri denote the left and right halves of the 64-bit block after the ith iteration, and XOR denotes an exclusive OR operation. The key scheduling algorithm is represented by the flowchart in Figure 1b, and the function of the round and the key is expressed in the flowchart on Figure 2. With reference to Figure 1b, the 64-bit key first undergoes an initial permutation, permuted choice 1, which discards the 8 bits numbered 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, and 48, 56, and 64, resulting in a 56-bit key. The 8 discarded bits are reserved for parity. While at first it seems reasonable to discard the parity bits, closer examination of the key expansion algorithm indicates that there is no cryptographic reason for discarding them. So apparently, they're not going to affect the safety of the system. And if all 64 bits were used in the algorithm, users would have the option of forsaking an internal parity check for a higher level of security. Okay. So, like, I guess you're saying, like, why discard them, I guess? .16-bit shift schedule. So they use it for the parity check, but if you use the entire thing, you could just choose to have a parity check or no, forsaking the parity check for higher security. Interesting. Anyways, a true 64-bit key would increase the cost of exhaustive search by a factor of 2 to the 8 from $5,000 to $1 million. Wild, just by using larger keys by a little bit. Since permuted choice 1 has negative cryptographic value, we recommend it be eliminated. So, permuted choice 1 is this. What? Is this their way of doing it? Why am I seeing permuted choice 2 here? I don't like that. Anyway, so in their key expansion, or in the way they generate keys, they're just saying, why are you using a 56-bit key here? This way you're doing permutations. I know it's useful for this check, but you could use a better way of doing it, which for a lot of people would provide $1 million of security at this time. Am I just not taking notes on this because it's really interesting? Yeah. This is I gotta take this down though. I'm not taking the figures down, but I think for me it's just, again, I'd want to go back and check the math. I'd want to go back and check in today's time, how quick can this stuff be broken and how much would it cost with today's smartphone? Probably not that much. Probably not $1 million. I mean, actually, with a smartphone, maybe it would take a long time. That's the kind of stuff I want to be able to more kind of check. I know it sounds totally random, I guess. Following this initial permutation, the remaining 56 bits are loaded into two 28-bit shaft registers labeled C and D. The contents of these registers at the ith iteration are denoted CI and DI. CI and DI are obtained from CI-1 and DI-1 by cyclically shifting the registers either 1 or 2 positions to the left. Okay. The number of left shifts 1 or 2 at each iteration is a fixed part of the algorithm, which we call the shift schedule. Okay. So I should have done this. Yeah, it's good enough. Just for things to look into later. The number of left shifts, addition. I keep forgetting to put this up to the. Anyways, is fixed. This concludes the description of the key scheduling algorithm. Sure, simple enough, I guess. I mean, simple. I don't know if it's simple, but. Oh gosh, with reference to figure 2. The function for the certain round in the key is computed as follows. First, R is expanded into a 48-bit R, prime by repeating a certain bits. If R equals R1 all the way to R32, then R prime equals R32 or okay, they just permutes the bits in a different order, but includes all of them. That is, R is broken into 8 4-bit groups, and the last bit of the preceding group and the first bit of the following group are added. Okay, that's okay. This is what I need to see in math, because 1, 2, 3, 32, 1, 2, 3, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What? Yeah, you heard in my brain. Okay, these 48 bits are XORed with the 48 bits of K, of the key, yeah. Take the round, mix everything up, XOR it with K, and successive 6-bit groups are input to 8 different ROMs, each of which outputs 4 bits. Okay, it was like the S group, S boxes. Yes, okay. I know what's going on. Okay. Which outputs 4 bits after another permutation. P, these 32 bits are taken as the function of R and K. My gosh. Okay. The exact choices. Okay, you're gonna have to read this out now. This is. Oh gosh, it's still messing up. These diagrams are gonna be the death of me. These are choices for the divisions, initial permutation, permitted choices 1 and 2, shift schedule S through S8, and the permutation P are not important to the main purpose of this paper. They are described in the Federal Register and in the document FIPS Pub Data Encryption Standard available from the. Oh, you can pay through. Okay, this is too cute. I gotta write this down. Oh, I hate. Sorry, I dislike profusely. Let's just take this down. I gotta look that up later. That's fun. This is not possible to draw a crude layout of the search chip. Figure 3 is a layer of. Okay, they have a picture of the chip. Oh, this is the chip. I get it. That makes a lot more sense. Decision. I mean, looks complicated as popsicles, but the 58-bit key is stored in the register, which is also an up counter to facilitate incrementing the key after the test. Permitted choice 1 can be dispensed with since a solution found by this chip can be transformed into the actual solution by operating with the inverse. Similarly, the initial permutation not need be applied to the plain text, and its inverse not be applied to the ciphertext, since the making account for these two operations by providing properly permuted versions of the known plain text ciphertext pair to the search regs. They're just like talking about so many different optimizations. It's really cool. I'm getting tired again, but we're almost done. So we're just gonna hope that yes. And the best part of being able to do this is that even when you get tired, the computer will keep reading.
The 16-bit chip schedule memory determines whether the C and D registers are to be cycled once or twice, and the control logic includes I/O multiplexes, polling and mode senses, reset logic, etc. Permuted choice 2 is implemented as a set of 48 permuted wires, as is the permutation P. The expansive operation from R to R is also of this form, except the permutation is particularly simple. The 8 S boxes 6-bit to 4-bit mappings are implemented as 8 ROMs with 64x4-bit organizations, for a total of 2048 bits of ROM. The 2 XOR operations involved in computing phi R, K, and the XOR operation for checking if the computed plaintext equals the known plaintext are each implemented in parallel with 48, 32, and 64 XOR gates, respectively. These numbers are indicated in parentheses in Figure 3. If any of the outputs of the last 64 XOR gates is 1, then the key try was not correct and the chip tries the next key. If all outputs of these gates are zeros, indicating complete agreement between the computed and known plaintext, the chip goes into an idle mode until polled by the board controller. Since the key counter is incremented as soon as the C and D registers are loaded, see Figure 4, the numerical contents of the key counter will be the solution key plus 1. Increment key counter load iteration ITERATIOUHC D L R32. 16HCKO2 to plus T1 to plus 2T1 to plus 161 to plus 161 plus T2 Figure 4. Overall timing diagram. The timing shown in Figures 4 and 5 is designed to minimize power consumption and compute time per key. For example, instead of incrementing the key counter after checking whether the computed and known plain texts match, this is done during the 16 iterations and check. Similarly, the C and D shift schedule SS registers are shifted during a portion of each iteration when their contents are not needed. At this point, it is possible to do a device count and timing estimate. Table 2 lists estimates of device count for each major component. It is seen that 6,400 devices is a reasonable estimate. This is comparable to the complexity of a Z80 microprocessor and thus requires a high-density technology. Turning to the question of speed, let us assume a basic gate delay of 3 nanoseconds, which is typical for CMOS SOS and which is midway between the 4 nanoseconds of 1976 and the 2 nanoseconds of 1977 N-channel devices. The time for loading the C, D, L, and R registers to in figure 4 and for checking if the computed and known plaintext match T2 is minimal compared to the time 161 required for the 16 iterations of the basic loop Li equals Re1 Re equals Li1 CDFLRI. 1 foot key. Figure 5 is used to estimate T1. An XOR operation involves 2 gate delays or 6 nanoseconds. The ROM access takes about 7 gate delays or 21 nanoseconds. The second XOR also takes 6 nanoseconds. And loading the L and R registers 82 takes about 4 gate delays 12 nanoseconds. The total time for one iteration is thus 6 plus 21 plus 6 plus 12 nanoseconds equals 45 nanoseconds, and 16 iterations take 720 nanoseconds. Allowing 80 nanoseconds for loading C, D, L, and R and for the check, see figure 5 brings the total time to test one key to 800 nanoseconds, or slightly less than the 1 USEC used in the basic argument. Even using the extremely conservative figure of 10 nanoseconds gate delay would result in a search time of less than 3 USEC per key, and, as noted earlier, the factor of 3 error is unimportant. Either the cost per solution is increased by this factor to $15,000 or we must wait about 2.5 years for the decreasing cost of computation to erase the error. However, we should re-emphasize that the 3 nanoseconds gate and 800 nanoseconds key are believed to be realistic with current technology. Ciphertext-only attack. Up to now, it has been assumed that a known plaintext ciphertext pair was available for use in determining the key. While such known plaintext attacks occur in practice and a good crypto system must be secure against them, a cryptanalyst would benefit greatly if he could also mount a successful attack without knowing any plaintext. Somewhat distressingly, under normal operating conditions, the proposed NBS standard is vulnerable to such a ciphertext-only attack. The crypto system is a FIPS Federal Information Processing Standard, binding on all applicable federal agencies. Because ASCII is also a FIPS standard, the plaintext data will often be represented as 8-bit ASCII characters. The plaintext block will consist of 8 such characters, and since the last bit in each ASCII character is a parity bit, bits numbered 8, 16, 24, 32, 48, 56, and 64 in the plaintext block are the XOR of the preceding 7 bits, e.g. Bit 16 equals the XOR of bits 9 through 15. To take advantage of this fact, modify the chip so that 1 bit is added to the data given it after a reset command. This bit specifies whether a known plaintext attack or a ciphertext-only attack is to be mounted. The known plaintext attack proceeds as previously described, while in the ciphertext-only attack the chip is given 2 ciphertext blocks and its starting point in the key space. Upon entering the search mode, the chip deciphers the first ciphertext block and checks if the 8 parity positions in the computed plaintext block are valid parity bits. If the key tried was not the right key, there is 1 chance in 28 equals 256 of these parity bits appearing valid. This assumes that the crypto device is, as it should be, a good pseudo-random number generator. We performed a simulation which supports the assertion that this probability is 1/256 when using the proposed standard. By then doing the same test on the second ciphertext block, the average false alarm rate is cut to 1 every 265,000 attempts. This is low enough to prevent chip I/O from cutting into search rate. At 1 key JSEC, a chip will I shift C and D, I shift SS1 till the first ROM access second load XOR ROICES XORIL and R0 to T1 plus T2 T1 plus T2 plus T3 T1 plus T2 plus T3 plus T4.
This is just the graphs. Sorry, that was yeah, but I was talking about this. That was what I wanted to get down. And then the ciphertext only attack, the chip is given 2 ciphertext blocks and its starting point in the key space. Upon entering the search mode, the chip deciphers the first ciphertext block. I check if the 8 parity positions in the computed plaintext block are valid parity bits. If the key tried with another key, there is a 1 chance in 2 to the 8 appearing valid. This assumes that this is as this should be. We already know that. Okay, yeah, this is what we're trying to get down. Looking into that. Performed, yada yada yada, I don't care. By doing the same test on the second ciphertext block, the average false alarm rate is cut to 2 to the 60 equals 65,000 attempts. This is low enough to prevent chip I/O from cutting into search rate. At 1 key per microsecond, a chip will have a tentative solution once every 65 milliseconds. And the I/O bus on a 128 chipboard will have to convey one such solution every 0.5 milliseconds for an average load of 100 kilobytes. A 200 kilobyte I/O bus will easily handle this load. So you're saying you can check for both of these things at the same time. Okay. Let me just finish this off real quick.
Have a tentative solution once every 65 milliseconds, and the I/O bus on a 128 chip board will have to convey one such 56-bit solution every 0.5 milliseconds for an average load of 100 kilobits per second. A 200 kbps I/O bus will easily handle this load. The board's control unit will have to be expanded slightly to include another search chip loaded with 2 different ciphertext blocks. All tentative solutions found on a board are double-checked by this device, cutting the false alarm rate by another factor of 65,000. The board will, therefore, convey a false alarm to the rack controller every 65,000, 0.5 milliseconds, 30 seconds, and a 128 board rack will receive false alarms at a rate of 4 per second. These are triple-checked by the rack with 3 additional search chips loaded with 6 different ciphertext blocks. Overall, a key must decipher 10 ciphertext blocks and produce proper parity before being passed to the mini-computer controller. Since there are 80 parity bits in these 10 blocks, the final false alarm rate is 256 280ths equals 2 to 24 less than 10 to 7 per search. In practice, a false solution is not to be expected. Very little penalty is paid for modifying the machine to handle both known plaintext and ciphertext-only attacks. The number of gates added to the chip is about 200 for 64 XORs, and the search rate is essentially unchanged since only 1 out of 256 keys has a doubled search time on the chip. The extra hardware in the board and...
Yeah, that was just the main point, I think, that you can just use the same hardware can do multiple attacks. So not only do you now have a computer that can do this general attack, well, it is, you can do another attack. And now I don't know if they're going to say there's another attack. Maybe. Oh, like the ways to use variable key sizes to give extra security, I think.
As indicated earlier, a standard with a variable key size is highly desirable. This section describes only 2 of the many ways to achieve this goal. The first method is a variable length key expansion algorithm, which appears to be at least as secure as the fixed length expansion algorithm currently used in the standard. For illustrative purposes, we have chosen 128 bits as the maximum length key, although the technique carries over just as well to 256 bits or other lengths. First the key, followed by enough zeros to make a total of 128 bits. Is used to drive a 128-bit linear feedback shift register. 0.17 The good key pseudo-random properties of feedback shift register sequences ensure a good distribution within the final shift register contents even if a short key is used. After this initial setup, we have 128 key bits regardless of the original key size. The feedback connections are disabled and the shift register is used to shift its final contents cyclically 8 positions after each of the 16 iterations of the basic encryption loop. 48 of the 128 stages are tapped to provide the 48 key bits needed for each iteration. After the 16th iteration, the 128-bit shift register has returned to its initial position and is ready to encipher the next block. By reversing the direction of the shifts, the keying bits are obtained in reverse order for deciphering.
Like, if this is... first the key, followed by enough zeros. Use drive, the good. Okay, I don't want that. I just want this. Sure, we'll keep that. The good. I'll put this. Man, give me that's like nothing to take notes on for that. It's just like I don't want to take notes for the whole algorithm. Like this. Another way would be to use the currently proposed standard, but to search for m times with m independent. This would hopefully yield. Hopefully. I'm just gonna have this read out and then probably won't take notes on this, honestly.
Another way to obtain a variable length key would be to use the currently proposed standard, but to encipher m times with m independent 56-bit keys. This would hopefully yield a 56 meters bit key, but additional analysis is required. For example, enciphering twice with 2 monoalphabetic ciphers is equivalent to enciphering only once with a third monoalphabetic cipher. If cipher 1 carries A to F and cipher 2 carries F to C, then the overall effect is to carry A to C. This is because monoalphabetic ciphers form a semigroup under composition. It is highly doubtful that the proposed standard possesses this property. Even if there are 256 meters different transformations, the poor mixing of the M keys may allow shortcuts. For example, with n equals 2, a meet in the middle attack allows cryptanalysis with a complexity of only 256 in time and memory. Because C equals SK2 SK1P, the intermediate variable M equals SK1P equals SK21C can be defined. This last equation shows that if P is enciphered under all 256 possible values for K1 and C is deciphered under all 256 possible values for K2, then only those K1-K2 pairs which have the same value of M are feasible solutions. A 128-bit block of text will yield a false solution rate of about 2 to 16 for the 112-bit quantity K1, K2. The 256 encipherments and decipherments required are not unreasonable with current technology. The memory requirements 256,128-bit words of memory, however, are several orders of magnitude above current capabilities. Advances in technology coupled with analysis to reduce the memory requirements will probably allow solution of doubly enciphered data within the next 10 or 20 years. We therefore recommend that, if multiple encipherment is used, M should be at least 3. While there are disadvantages to this technique when compared with the feedback shift register key expander, it has the advantage of being compatible with the current standard. The disadvantages are decreased speed or increased hardware to allow M times as much computation, and that the user must do something special to get a high level of security. The latter problem might be overcome by making M equals 4 the default option and requiring special action to obtain smaller values of M.
Honestly, I might just take this down and I'm tired. And there's dissing the standard, to be fair. So I feel like there's just no point of taking that down. But I'll take down a little discussion.
It is now possible to see why the search machine should benefit fully from falling computation costs. Since the chip is compute-bound, not I/O limited, it will receive full benefit from increases in gate speed. Also, as greater gate densities or larger chips become possible, many search devices can be put on one chip with a multiplexer to keep the pin count unchanged. The masking cost of such a superchip would hardly be more than that for a chip with a single search device, since the mask would repeat the same basic search device many times. The low cost per solution projected for the future, $50, is even possible today in many applications. If the key is composed of 8 ASCII characters and these are chosen to be a sequence of letters A through Z, then there are only 2682 extension 1011 keys to be searched. If the machine could be designed to search these keys first, it would find such a solution in much less than 1 second and at a cost of $0.014. It may greatly complicate the search chip to affect this search pattern, but at least the 7th bit in each.
And last page. Made it.
Character, which is a shift control bit, can be held constant during the first phase of the search. The muted choice 1 moves these bits numbered 7, 15, 23, 31, 39, 47, 55, and 63 together, facilitating such a search mode. The machine would take less than 6 minutes to exhaust these 248 keys. The corresponding average cost per solution is cut from $5,000 to $20.
What?
In summary, we believe we have made a convincing argument concerning the insecurity and planned obsolescence inherent in the proposed crypto standard.
Damn, if you only use English.
We have also indicated cost-effective ways to avoid the problem. A 128-bit or larger key is needed to preclude exhaustive search and to allow a margin of safety against shortcuts to exhaustive search. We hope that those readers who will be most affected by this standard will let their views be known to NVS.
Nice. And now there's like 100 other papers that like I probably don't want to read, but some of them I do want to read. And so, like what was that? 17. Shift register, like this paper. I probably just want to. Here. I can't even remember how to like make a footnote. So I'm just gonna be awkward. There you go. Perfect. Well, thanks everyone for thanks myself for finishing this today on a Sunday. Nice. I did finish in about an hour. I did about an hour of streaming for real. I did about like a 13, 14-minute intro. So Ernest, feel free to have fun trying to make that look reasonable for people to learn something on. But I do have my notes here. Actually, I'll do it right now so I don't forget. Where are we? We're in the right spot, I think. Let's see. I think we're in the right spot. Don't do what I do, kids. Chloe's always experimenting on mainnet. Finish taking notes. Well, I don't know about finish. I'll come back to this, but maybe just finish streaming. What was it called? Something about DES. Analysis of DES. DES paper. 1970s. What? Oh, it keeps doing this. Dang it. Ugh, gotta fix this later. Too tired. Yeah, I named it the wrong thing too. Let me rename it actually quickly. No. What the heck, doodle? Where's files? Thank you. Articles. Thank you. No. We gotta rename you. Rename you. We're gonna rename you. DES. Why did I do that? I like that word. DES Cryptanalysis. There you go. This might be reasonable. So git add git commit renamed article. Yeah. Leave me alone. Git push should work. Perfect. It's up. I'll have to fix that later. Later meaning maybe never, but probably soon. But yeah, I'm out. Gonna go do something else for a little bit. Probably watch some anime or something, to be completely honest. There's more papers to read. So session 3 notes. I actually really enjoyed chapters 5 and 6, hash functions and max, or max and hash functions. But look, chapter 5 exercises are here, and chapter 6 exercises are here. So to be honest, I will probably later on start going through some of these exercises. But actually, I'll probably do some readings first because I'm pretty tired, and yeah. So maybe I'll even do a reading later or set one of these up, like on the history of hash functions attacks. Apparently, this is the one that Thor was like, "This is a good one. You gotta read this one." So I'll probably read this. I'll read this one. Has a lot of details about like, it's pretty short. Like, it's a cute little one. Oh, it's a Zuko wrote it. Cool. There's like links. Probably a fun little one. So maybe I will stream this. Well, let me close this because that was fun, but I got new paper out of it. I gotta set it up and everything, and like articles and what is it? new note and name it like, you know, and like it's so annoying to create a title for something. So like, ugh, that's not gonna work as a title. So like, you know, so hash. Like the titles are so weird here because I want them to be like GitHub friendly. Hash functions, history of attack. Let's do that, and then let's actually put the title here. There you go. And then I'll probably just put the link or something here. Then, what will I do? Just to make sure I'm really good to go for next time, so I have no excuses. I'm probably just gonna take notes, not even art. No, but you know, git commit. I gotta stop doing it from here. Set up. Oh gosh. Dang it. Not what I meant to do. I thought I had this wonderful article. I mean, I could have done like that, I guess, maybe. I don't know if it works very well to do that. Oops. Terminal, come back. Oh yeah. What? Oh, this one works. Man, each computer I have works a bit differently, and it's like a lot. Okay, and then git push. Beautiful. So on the GitHubbies, I have most of these notes available under MJR. Research, notes, articles, and then there you go. Hash function stuff will be here soon. Very exciting, I suppose. I don't know. But we just finished the DES cryptanalysis, and so like all the notes are here and everything that I thought was important. So I can no links. Ugh, sad times. But I'll hopefully try and fix some of those things later. So yeah. See y'all. I mean, it's Sunday, so I should just go relax, and I'll probably do this little article on Monday.